Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Victoria 3 as the United Tribes of New Zealand. We're continuing in our efforts to fully industrialize our population and colonize or take control of this sovereign island. And that is going quite well. As you can see, at the moment, all of the interest groups are behind us. So we're getting so many bonuses from different interest groups. Additionally, we have 600,000 in terms of GDP. We have #1 GDP per capita in the world. Our literacy rates have increased from 33% to 39%. Our standard of living is #1 in the world, and our population is steadily increasing because we did manage to pass the charity hospitals law. So at the moment, thanks to the Anglican Church, we have religious schools and we have charity hospitals. So that's going great. What we're looking to reform is the economic system, however. So as our industrialists and intelligentsia are increasing in clout, we will soon be able to do that. So we're going to continue our efforts in colonizing the sovereign island, and perhaps there are places that we can take over quickly in the meantime just to increase our population. So things are going great. I'm immediately thinking about our economy and thinking about the food industry. So right now, the food industries are quite profitable, but perhaps there's something else that we can do. For example, we could start building shipyards or glassworks. So here's the thing about glassworks is in the future, they will be much more profitable because more and more glass will be needed in the whole world, and especially in the Great Britain because of well, we don't have any urban buildings yet, but perhaps we can check out any of the British provinces where they obviously do. And as you can see, some of these require glass. And as more and more urban centers will keep rising in the world, we will start selling more and more glass. So my idea is that we should try and build at least one glass works factory. So let's do that. And speaking of industries, there's one thing that is missing from the game that would be historically true and would probably even be very easy given the game mechanics, and that is flax. So the Maori knew how to process flax and make it into clothing, and later it was used to make ropes and other things. So it was a very useful fabric that could be used for not just clothing but even defenses, because it would be so tough that sometimes you can get a bullet bounce off of it. So speaking of flax, the British really wanted to know how did the Maori achieve that. And they wanted to take that knowledge and bring it to the Norfolk Island, which would be here, but I suppose it's too small for the video game designers to put it in here. But either way, there is an island called the Norfolk Island. It was a penal colony, and that is where they wanted to process flax and make it into clothing for the New South Wales and the rest of the colonies here. And what they did is that they sent a ship named Daedalus to grab a couple of inhabitants, bring them to Norfolk, and get them to teach the workers at the penal colony how to process this flax. So what they did, they came in, they grabbed 2 people, and while they were eating and just having a great time down at the ship, they sailed away without their knowledge. And then those 2 people, who happened to be a priest and a warrior, didn't have a single clue as to how to process flax, because flax was only processed by women. So the story really ended at that point. They just gave them gifts and sent them back on their way. So flax, that is something that can be used in fabric. Victoria 3 has a resource named fabric. So I think it would be fair enough if the United Tribes of New Zealand and the other provinces had some sort of a modifier that would say you get plus 10% or maybe even more fabric throughput. I think that would be fair, and that would be really cool and historically accurate as well. More flavor is always good news. But enough of that, let's start playing the game. Great Britain is having issues with the Western Australian peasants. We are still trying to invent quinine. I think as soon as we get quinine, we could start looking into the Fiji Islands. The Fiji Islands have 84,000 people, which obviously would double our population. But not only that, they're quite small, so I think the colonization here would be quick and painless for us. Election time! Look at that. Patriotic Party and Agrarian Party have essentially took over the government. The Conservatives only got 11% of the vote. So apparently, even though the Agrarian Party got more votes than the Conservative Party, this is still the best exposure for the government. And let's see if we can change any laws in the meantime. So far, it doesn't seem that way. So I'm starting to think that perhaps having the intelligentsia and the rural folk in government would be a good idea. I don't know how they would work together. Now, given that we now have intelligentsia in the government, we can start changing some of these laws. Oh, obviously, interventionism would be something we want to have. What if we try to have this type of government? So none of these are parties that won the elections. Oh yes, we can then change into interventionism. I really want that. So let's try and achieve that. So what I forgot to do with the port, and that's very important, but luckily that there's no problem that I didn't do that initially, is we need a cargo port because that gives us +5 infrastructure. We can start building glassworks because eventually we will run out of gold. As far as the food industries go, we're good for now. Oh, that's good news. So when I didn't notice, I guess we invented romanticism so we can do greener grass campaign. And now we have interventionism. That's great news for us. We can do all of these things, and that's of course great. We can have more capitalist investment pool contribution, which we do need, and I think we're gonna have a lot of capitalists, way more than aristocrats anyway. But what is also really, really important for us right now is we'll be able to change the tax. And so we're going to go to per capita taxation as soon as we have the support for that. Additionally, perhaps soon enough, we can start moving into a better healthcare insurance type. So looking into citizenship type, in reality, I think that the Māori should start with cultural exclusion. There's not a lot of data showing that the Māori had anything against the Australians or the British living on the island. As far as I know, they were kind of accepted until, they started stealing the land and all that. National supremacy shouldn't be the default. We can't do multiculturalism yet because we haven't invented egalitarianism, but that's fine. So cultural exclusion, let's go. And then once we're done with the glassworks, we're going to change our production method in the port to increase the infrastructure. We have quite a lot of influence, so perhaps we can change our relations with any countries in the region. Let's start changing our relations with the Hawaii. That sounds like a good idea. Great potential partners. We probably have very similar interests in the region. And cultural exclusion has attracted new supporters, increasing maximum success by 15%. That's good news. Once the cultural exclusion is done, I think we're going to get more immigration from the Australians. We only have 400 Australians living here right now. Currency standards unlocked, which means we can have per capita taxation. And that is the next thing that we're going to pass as soon as we pass the cultural exclusion. And we passed 100,000 population. So that's good news for us. And here we go, here we go, here we go. We have cultural exclusion. I don't like the names of these technologies because if you go from national supremacy to cultural exclusion, that's kind of positive, but it still makes you sound like you're an asshole or something. But it is what it is. So intelligentsia are very happy about this. So that whenever they're happy about something, it's always good, right? Because we agree with the intelligentsia in the game. We do, right? So anyway, less radicals and so we're still going to discriminate against the Australians, unfortunately. I wish it would be like we would discriminate against them less. But given that now we have cultural exclusion, the Aboriginal people from Australia are coming in to live with us. And that's good news. The more the merrier, as they say. The more the bigger your GDP. So leaded glass, let's switch some production methods here in the glassworks so that we start making more and more money out of it. While on the port side, we're going to change to cargo port. So it's going to be expensive to maintain this cargo port. It's going to cost us population, but we're not going to go over our infrastructure capacity. Eventually, we're going to run out of our reserves, but that will be a long time before that happens. And changing taxation won't help us even one bit. So yeah, let's start looking into passing some per capita taxation. I think that should be good. Wealth voting. So somebody wants to enact wealth voting. Is it better than landed voting? Yes, I suppose it is. We don't really care about land in this country, do we now? We have nobody using any of the land. So I guess that gives a lot of power to the aristocrats. Okay, let's just check what's going on in the world right now. Nothing. Oh, okay, something out of ordinary. Egypt tore through Ottoman Empire. I don't know how to explain that, but I guess Ottoman Empire is not doing great right now, so maybe it will become Turkey or something. What else is happening here? Nothing unusual in the US front, except that Texas is still independent for some reason. Well, have fun, Texas. Anything else? Nope. Nothing out of the ordinary. How is Liberia doing? Well, as always, spicy. So we have the prince intervening in the political process once again, and he wants things that the intelligentsia do want as well, but they don't like him intervening. But we're gonna take it, even though they will be unhappy with us a little bit. It's fine. Let's just take the good that we can get from having a prince while we still have a prince, because becoming a democracy is on our to-do list as well. And our population is at 107,000. Is that within the North Island, or the Southern Island also has quite a few people? Perhaps we can build a logging camp, although it is isolated, so we will need a port and a logging camp to facilitate that, and we're already losing our balance, so not the right time. As soon as we reform our tax base, we can think about doing that. Aotearoa has suddenly died while drafting legislation for per capita taxation law. No, that's bad news, right? Okay, so it's more time and more success chance, or less time but less success chance. Let's do more time, more success chance. I'll take it. And the infrastructure is still below limit, so there's no issue there. Would be nice to get as much taxes in as possible. Mass communication is unlocked. Good news, but nothing particularly important for us right now. What else can we bolster? Let's bolster trade unions. And things are going quite well. Half of our inhabitants are loyalists. That means we have no troubles right now with radicalism. The crusade for change. The ongoing effort to implement per capita taxation has captured the imagination of the Patriotic Party, which has added full-throated support for the new law as part of its central platform. Well, thank you, Patriots. I don't know why you're being so nice to us. Who are they? The Patriotic Party. Is that the... Oh, is that almost everyone? So what does that mean? The Patriotic Party are the champions of change. Or the people speak and the nation shall listen. Yeah, of course, yes. We don't want the Patriotic Party to win the next election anyway. Boom, we have per capita taxation. And that is good news for us. So per capita taxation is a tax system that disproportionately taxes the poor through a combination of income and per capita taxes. That doesn't sound like I'm a good guy. I know, but it's still better than just land taxation. And we're making more revenue. Let's see, so can we actually... Yeah, we can actually balance our budget. I mean, everybody has to chip in a little bit. So how can we change the voting laws in the country right now? We can have wealth voting or census suffrage, which is literate men of particular status is given a vote. Okay, so half of the country would be able to vote. Because right now we can only vote if we have land, and that's not a lot of people, right? Yeah, that's terrible. This makes a lot more sense, so let's try to enact that for now. There are some movements to restore land-based taxation, which is not an issue for us right now since the radicalism is so low. Slowly increasing from decreases and stuff. Yeah, I guess that's the curse of having a high living standard, is that slight decreases in maintaining such a high standard will be very noticeable. And the election results are in. The Patriotic Party got 100% of the vote because, oh, it's 7,000 people voting. Well, that's no wonder. Let's see if our government is legitimate right now. I guess it's as legitimate as it gets. Who supports census suffrage? Let's see. It gets support from intelligentsia and the trade unions. So we're gonna have to keep the government the way it is for now. Pharmaceuticals now. Okay, so that means we can have +1 max health system institution investment. That is amazing news. So let's invest into that health system institution and go to quinine. Looks like our GDP is on the rise again, so no issues there. And we need to start thinking about some consumption taxes, I think, which would mean that we need to have more authority. We could lose the encourage manufacturing industry or promote social mobility. And we finally have census suffrage. So that means that everyone who is able to write can vote. I think historically this law was used against poor people, but since we have 50% literacy rate, that should kind of work itself out, right? We're not the bad people here. Are we? Are we? Okay. Let's not think about it too much. So the next election should be very different. I think we can just build another glassworks because soon enough we're going to have some population freed up from the gold fields. They're going to expire at some point. I don't know when, but they do expire. Napoleonic warfare is unlocked. Sounds good. Our GDP is at 700,000. Let's see if we can balance the budget. No, we do need consumption taxes. So perhaps we can stop interfering with the political processes to get that. And maybe we can cancel one of these. Okay, let's cancel promote social mobility and let's start doing some consumption taxes. What can we tax? It's not a lot. Services. Plus normal taxes, and we're somehow in the plus right now, but obviously we're going to have more and more radicals. Let's see if this sends radicalism through the roof. If we pay smaller... Okay, this works somehow. This works. Because getting too much in the red is bad for us because we're going to have to pay interest. Like right now we're paying 400 interest and our income is 300. So if we didn't pay interest, our income would double. Health system institution is at level 2. Isn't that great? Look at that. So we're going to get... Oh, mortality rate is only 1.7%. So that means we have more and more population growth. Natural... Ooh. And migration is through the roof. Yes, Aboriginal people are migrating more and more into our country. That's good news. Second thing we should do is change this. But right now I think we have the church in government, so we can't do that. And we need empiricism. It is being spread into our country. So that's good news. Okay, so our population is at 130,000, so it's almost triple than what we started with. And we were blessed by the gods of technology with the canneries, so we can put our foodstuffs into the cans. Don't people love cans? They make food last longer. Let's see. Canneries? Yes. Now our food industries are very efficient, almost as efficient as glassworks. Gold, on the other hand, is staying at 21, which is not really that much. And look at that, our balance. So our balance is essentially the consumption tax. Perhaps we can increase the salaries for the bureaucrats a bit more. Okay, so we can have high government wages, which we want to keep because that means the intelligentsia will keep supporting us. And our GDP is almost at 1 million. So as we're going through these things, let's check the situation with colonization. Is anybody colonizing anyone in the region? No, sir. So it seems that the British had laid off the colonization efforts. They took Tahiti and they're done with that, so that's good. Soon enough, we'll be able to increase our colonial institutions to level 2 and double our colonization. And look at that, we're at 1 million GDP. Our small country that started as, I think, was it 50,000 GDP? We're now at 1 million and we're number 1 in terms of GDP per capita. And we're number 80th in terms of pure GDP. Unfortunately, the game is still pretty much just waiting and waiting and waiting. Let's just keep an eye on any production methods that could... Ooh. That can be true. Yeah. Sometimes these things lie. And now we lost our 1 million GDP. Whatever. Now we can start building a port. I think we can afford to have a port in the southern island. And once we have a port, we can start actually taking advantage of some of these industries. Let's see, what would be profitable? I think nothing is profitable until we have a port. Okay, so it's time to change something about our politics since we have very low government legitimacy. Let's think about it now. What do we want to have in the government? I think if the trade unions are included, then we can pass some cool laws. So the Patriotic Party plus trade unions shall be invited into the government and... Ooh, yeah, what can we do now? Oh, we can have propertied women, but I know that... Oh, yeah, okay, I like this. Some people don't want it, but if we have public health insurance, we can then increase our institution level to +2 as opposed to 0. As total separation is still not available, so let's go with public health insurance. I know the Anglican Church will be unhappy, but hey, who asked them? And finally, we have empiricism unlocked. That is good news for us. So +1 max education institution investment. Good, but also total separation is available. Country or class. The trade unions are dissatisfied with the inclusion of the armed forces in the Aotearoa tribal government. The army keeps the peace. Or the struggle within is more important than the struggle without. Or let us hope conflict never escalates that far. Let's just... Whoa! Okay, I did not expect that. The only party that's in opposition right now is both intelligentsia and industrialists, but they pretty much like us anyway, so that's fine. Let's not overthink it. We're number 30th worldwide when it comes to literacy, and screw frigate is, well, good for those who want to screw frigates, I guess. Wait, did I get demonetized? Jokes on you, YouTube. I never was monetized. This is so much waiting. I think the problem with the United Tribal runs is not that it's difficult, it's that it's a lot of sitting and waiting and doing nothing. Let's see what we have here. Availability versus accessibility. Tukoroto Aotearoa, leader of the industrialists, has brought up today debate the concerns of healthcare potentially becoming more accessible but less available for those that already have it. And we can say their concerns are unwarranted or the concerns should be considered. I don't like those concerns, so let's go with the unwarranted. So what do we have here? Landowners are being unhappy. They don't have any clout at all. So why does that matter for us? They're influential because they're in the government. But I don't think that they will be in the government during the next election. And we have newly formed parties. That means now, we have bigger chances for other parties too. So what do we have here? Patriotic Party still winning. Liberal Party and Free Trade Party are not doing as well as we want them to do. Let's see, but I think it's because the armed forces are carrying the landowners. Opposition members put forth demands. More pragmatically inclined members of the industrialists currently opposed to the passing of public health insurance have offered to change their stance if we acquiesce to their demands. And that will make the trade unions unhappy with us, which will mean that we'll lose our manufacturing throughput. Fine. Look, I'm just trying to pass the laws that you want to have, and now you're unhappy with me. I feel like Obama or something. And the election results are in. Let's see, the Patriotic Party got 84% of the vote, which is something that we did expect. The goddamn bastards win again. Yes, sir. Now we have public health insurance, which means we can invest even more into the health system institution. It means that it's minus 10% mortality. Let's look at the mortality rates right now. It's 1.8. Well, I expected it to be a bigger effect, but I guess you can have 0% mortality. And finally, we have quinine, which means we're gonna start investing more into our colonization institution. Okay, let's keep health system at level 2 for now, since we don't have enough bureaucracy and we need to focus on colonial affairs. We need to start thinking about our production methods. So I'll just go with crystal glass. 35 months to research. So banking is unlocked, some minting here available, so that should increase our revenue. And let's get a quick review. The year is 1849. We have 1,000,000.1 GDP, with number 1 GDP per capita. That hasn't changed, luckily. Our education is moving forward, not as fast as other countries, but still. Standard of living number 1 in the world. I don't know. Did anybody ask about it? And that's why we have 160,000 in terms of population right now. So we have tripled our population since the beginning of the game. And population is what is going to power our industry. So that is amazing news. Food industry is looking really effective. We're slowly integrating the South Island. And as we're improving our colonization institution, we're looking at you, Fiji. So perhaps we're going to incorporate Fiji next time. And we also have made some changes to our economic system. We have went with interventionism. We have per capita taxation. We have census suffrage. And slowly but surely, we're going to get into universal suffrage soon enough. And we have cultural exclusion as well, which invites the Australian Aboriginal people to live with us. So 20,000 Aboriginals living in the North Island. That's amazing. So we're having more and more population due to these changes, and things are looking up for Aotearoa. As soon as our GDP will be much higher than that of New South Wales, we're going to be able to absorb them into our country. I'm not sure how that mechanic works, but I know that that's what happens when you have the same overlord and good relations and a much higher GDP. So look out for that. It's been great playing as New Zealand, or the United Tribes of New Zealand rather, so far, and I'm waiting for you to come back next time. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.